Hey guys, what is going on? I'm Scout with 3Guns Down as always, and today is not a lore video day, but a response day. After the first two videos now, and I figured I'm going to go ahead and do this after every two videos, even though the second video hasn't had that much time to accumulate comments or questions or anything like that. I'll catch those, I guess, in the next one. But I'm going to do a response video to the Halo Lore Series videos every two videos. And this is a response to all your questions, all your comments, all your other theories, your thoughts, and everything else that you throw out there, because I encourage you to go in there, comment, and argue with me. Now, if you're being an ass and you're wrong, I'll humiliate you and tear you apart in the comments and probably the next video. So, at your own risk. But if you're not being an asshole and if you're just legitimately stating your theories, I'm going to be pretty damn nice to you, because I encourage thinking. I encourage thinking outside the box. I encourage thinking inside the box. I encourage thinking in a circle. Wherever you want to think, it's up to you. Just think. A lot of people don't do that today. So anyway, what the fuck is... Anyway. Oh yeah, well, that's me. Getting on to the comments. Now I'm just going to go down the list pretty much. I've already kind of picked out a few. But I'm going to go down the list and take up on the questions that have some merit to them to be read and whatnot. And we're going to start with the precursors video. Kevin M. Actually, no, never mind. We'll get to him in a second. Kyrian Yude. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. I know you're foreign. I'm foreign to you too. The Halo rings destroyed sentient life, so it's something to with that why the Flood aren't affected to the Halo rings were to kill off the Flood's food, but you properly know this. It's okay if your English isn't very good. I used to tutor a Italian student, and her English was horrible. So I found a way of making words, like, instead of using a different word that means something similar, I would use different words that mean the same thing, and I'd get to a word that she eventually understood. So I'm fairly good at picking up on what foreign people are getting at. So again, the Halo rings destroy sentient life, so it's something to with that why the Flood's food aren't affected by the Halo rings were to kill off the Flood's food, but now you properly know this. No. It's a K, dude, for future reference, because someone will grammar Nazi your ass to death. Yeah, he's kind of picking up at what I was picking up in the second video. I actually didn't end up reading this comment till like yesterday, and it's the 20th day of March, and winter's still here in Kentucky. Fuck. But yeah, he's basically picking up that the Flood aren't sentient, which is why it didn't affect them, but it did affect all their food, because the Halo rings affect all sentient life, which is what I got at on the second video about the Flood. The Flood aren't sentient, the Gravemind is sentient, so it kills off the Gravemind, but the Flood are still a feral species without the Gravemind that aren't technically considered sentient, and they do have the ability to go dormant and I guess hibernate in a sense. Or just completely stop all activity, and slightly... I'm sure they have some kind of biological rebound I just haven't thought of yet, because I haven't thought of their biological stasis component too thoroughly, but I imagine that's how it goes. They have some kind of hibernations or some stasis where they use absolutely no energy and they just sit dormant for a very long period of time, or the fact that it did start out as a biological agent powder in a jar, which Frank could have knocked over on one of the ring worlds or the installations or the shield worlds or anywhere else, because it did starve off the Flood. It didn't kill them. There would have been remnants left. And so Frank knocks over a powder jar with a bunch of UNSC troops, and Frank killed us all. Fuck you, Frank. God damn it. Kevin M. I actually had a big discussion with this guy in my inbox, personal message back and forth, and he did bring up kind of an interesting point, which I did get at in the second video again. I thought the Flood was a result of the Foreigners becoming transhumanist, digitally immortalizing themselves. Then that got corrupted, so when they returned to organic bodies, they became abominations, as said in the games. In the games, it stated the composer was created so that they could transfer themselves into a digitalized world. The Foreigners could, specifically the Foreigners could. The Didact used it on the humans in the attempts to create the Prometheans. because the Prometheans are digital signatures in the game. It shows that when the digital signatures are created, it's a transfer of data when a Promethean dies. So it's transferring the consciousness out of one Promethean back into a database, out into another Promethean body. That's how that's working. I'm not going to go really in depth or in detail onto the Prometheans or the Forerunners right now, because that's going to be in the Forerunner video, which I'll get to that in a few minutes. About the Forerunner video when it's coming, not the actual Forerunner video. But no, the composer was created so that they could escape the flood. That was their first attempt at it, and it went bad. And resulted in the Prometheans, which they could control still. The Didact could anyway, because he used it on all his soldiers. Anyway, Nick Martini. Martini. In Halo CE, Guilty Spark said that the Forerunners had made places which they were immune to the Halo, and this was restated by the engineer in the Thursday War. Thursday War is a book, by the way. It's set in current UNSC times. The precursors, the remaining ones, make an appearance in it. So if you haven't read it, go read it. It supports my precursor theories and all that jazz. Therefore, if one flood form made it into one of these safe havens, they would have survived repeated firings of the Halo rings. That is true if the Halo rings affected the flood, which they don't. They just affect their food. They starve them out. And these places were shield worlds. The Ark was shielded. The Ark is actually just outside the Milky Way galaxy. Requiem is actually also just outside the Milky Way galaxy. They're about 2 light years apart, we think. None of the Halo installations were shielded, though, and they are all inside the Halo galaxy. There were originally 10 or 11 Halo installations, I think, that were actually destroyed in a war, and the 7 that we remained. Which is interesting how Bungie goes from 7 to 11. Theories of 7, don't worry about it, kids. So yeah, I could go on about that, but you should just watch the second video and you'll know more. Trevelyan was a shield world in the Halo Wars. A guy that's Canadian. Halo Talks. He's right. Don't forget Trevelyan. Yeah, Halo Wars was the RTS game, and that was the shield world that they were on in that game. So yeah, and there were flood there, but it doesn't state where that is in the galaxy relatively. It's odd to me that they would create a shield world like Requiem and then put it outside the galaxy. If it's a shield world that's not affected by the rings, why would you put it outside the galaxy? You're just putting it out in the middle of nowhere, making it very, very, very hard to reach. And if it's a shield world, it already has internal defenses. I'm gonna say this right now, but I'm gonna think about it later on, and then I'm gonna I'll get to it later on in a lore series video, the Forerunner lore series video. I'm going to say that the shield worlds weren't actually made to shield against the Halo rings. I think they were just shield worlds in general to shield from the outside. Then again, we don't know the power of the Halo rings other than destroying all sentient life. How deep is their penetration? Just said that. Into a world. For instance, could they reach life at the core of a planet? If they could, unless they have some super hypotenuous alloy, which, if they have solid hydrogen or metalloid hydrogen, its properties could block electrons or absorb them. If they sent that out in a wave type format. Science. I'll have to think on that. The Requiem. Why? Yeah, I'll definitely have to think on why would they put the Ark and Requiem outside the galaxy if they were shield worlds to be shielded against the rings. Because maybe they weren't made to be shielded against the rings. Maybe they were made to be shielded against the outside, not the rings effects. Because they are put outside of the rings effective zone. You bring up another point that I'm going to have to do more fucking research on for the Forerunner video. God damn it, Canadians. It's okay, I love you. More and more people talk about the flood and why they survived. We know why they survived. The Ring specifically states that it starved them. The librarian specifically states that the Rings starved them out. In fact, Guilty Spark, Benedict Bias, for those of you that don't know his real name. Forerunner video is gonna be good. It's gonna be real good. There's some fucked up shit about the Forerunners. But yeah, Benedict Bias or Guilty Spark 343. Yeah, he and the librarian themselves both state that the Halo Rings were created to starve the flood, kill all the food. Not the flood. Why would you kill the food and the flood? Why not just kill the flood if you could? That's pretty much everything from the first video. We're moving on to the second video. Exponential. Expoon3natal? Am I saying that right? No, exponential. Yeah, I get it. Asks, also, wasn't the second video supposed to be about the Forerunners themselves? Yeah, you got me. Yeah, it was. But there is a huge fucking amount of information on the Forerunners, and it's just going to take a lot of time to gather and make sure everything's accurate, and I'm not going to put it up unless it's very, 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 very accurate. And I'm going very in depth. We're going to talk about politics, their patriarch society, their AI development, and how their AI development is different yet very, very similar to how the UNSC developed Cortana, how Dr. Halsey developed Cortana. It's going to be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And we're actually going to get into the AI complexities and oh god, that's going to be a fuckload of research for me and more hurt on my brain. TS Leader. The only problem with your theory, and this was from the Halo 2 video where I mentioned that only a tier 0 civilization could stop the flood. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the Flood, the Halo lore series video. You'll understand. I take a whole 40 minutes to explain it. The only problem with your theory is that it doesn't take a tier 0 civilization to stop the flood. If you, you read, I'm not going to correct his grammar, I'm going to let him suffer. You read the books and watch the H4 terminals, it turns out that the humans had a cure but were de-evolved and their work was destroyed. Okay. So the Forerunners have proven that they can kill off a tier 0 technology. Now I'm assuming that's because they had a vast superiority in the numbers. Now the precursors were leaps and bounds ahead of them in technology, a whole tier, which is a lot. If you think about it in technological terms, there's a lot of steps before you get to another tier because you have to master so many different things. Now the reason why I think the humans were on the verge of discovering tier 1 is or tier 0 technology is because they were able to stop the flood with a scientific cure and idea, not a war or extinguishing all life in the galaxy. The Forerunners' solution to the flood isn't a solution. It's a reset of the galaxy, is what it is. It's not a solution, it's a reset. And I do believe in Halo 5 and in Halo 6 we will see the flood return at some point. I really, really do think they will, and they are going to have a huge fucking plot twist for us, which might be my tier 0 technology theory. Wouldn't I be the fucking shit if I thought that far ahead and was right? Yeah, I would. But, okay, so the humans were fighting a war on two fronts. They were fighting with the Forerunners, and they were fighting with the Flood at the same time. They didn't find the cure for the Flood about halfway through the war, and they were losing badly. Like, half their civilization was gone by the time they found the cure. So they implemented the cure, and they were still technically losing, but the Flood were slowly digressing in the war, and then the Flood started to fight themselves, and the Flood started to lose, and while the Gravemind controlled a small portion of the Flood, he threw them off into a small corner of the galaxy to hide before they killed the Gravemind himself, so that the Flood still existed. They could come back at a later time, which was around 10,000 years ago, and they came back and they started to hunt the Forerunners down, and then the Forerunner Flood War started. Why do I think the humans were almost at tier 0 technology? Or they were becoming tier 0 technology? 1, they found the cure for the Flood. It fits into my theory. 2, the Foreigners have proven that they can kill off a tier 0 race. They killed off the precursors, probably because of vast superiority in numbers. And again, they had vast superiority in numbers over the humans. So a technological gap doesn't help that much if there's vast superiority in numbers, which made it very easy for the foreigners to take what was left into the humans, corral them, and de-evolve them. So the foreigners proving that they can kill off a tier 0 civilization by killing off the precursors shows that they can handle the humans if they were about to reach that tier 0 technology. Another reason why I think that the humans had reached tier 0 technology is because the humans effectively invented glassing a planet before the Covenant did. They had plasma radiated ion cannons. Let me say that right and make sure I said it again. Plasma radiation ionic, or was it iotic? It's one of those things. Anyway, very complicated cannons, and basically what it does is it just takes electrons in massive amounts and just blows the fuck out of everything with huge amount of electrons. Not only does that create a super amount of friction, but when you have huge amounts of electrons, and I mean like huge amounts of electrons essentially flying at something all at once, you're just gonna blow it to bits. It's essentially going to disintegrate, is what it's going to do. I could get into the atomic theory and kinetics and everything of that, but I won't. It's more chemistry than it is, well, it's physics, but chemistry, yeah, it's physics. Exponential again. Quit having good fucking questions. You, he, she, it. Your avatar's a girl, so I'm calling you a her. Be happy. I figured the librarian didn't catalog the foreigners because of a "we don't deserve to live with our failures" based guilt. That's a very good possibility. The cataloging of races was left up to the librarian, and the librarian saw through to what the precursors wanted. At least I think she did. And she believes that the humans are the true holders of the mantle. The librarian is also very old. Foreigner's life expectancy, God, it's in the thousands. And then in the books, it is also shown that they can come back from the dead, essentially is what I'm getting from it, but yeah. Yeah, you know, I'm not entirely sure why the librarian didn't catalog their race, but think of it, you know, firing the Halo rings is essentially like a reset of the galaxy. It's, we're losing this chess game, let's start it over. That's what it was, and give ourselves better advantage in the start. Or give the mantle holders a better start. That's essentially what the Halo rings did. And the Halo rings are not a solution to the Flood. And neither was the Ark. And I'll tell you, well, I'll get to that in the UNSC video about Master Chief and the Spartan Project. So yeah, we got at least 8 videos coming, 8 more videos coming. Possibly be wrapped up this summer, because I ain't doing shit. So I'm gonna get on it then. But we definitely have one about the humans in the time of the foreigners and the precursors. We have possibly 2 about the precursors, because we're going to go into their politics, their religion, their science, a lot. We're going pretty deep in with the forerunners here, okay? So there could be possibly 2 30 to 40 minute videos on them. And then I can think of at least... yeah, 6 reasons to talk about the humans, the Covenant, first contact with the Covenant, the Flood, the creation of the Covenant, the Spartan Project, the AI development, the differences between our AI and the Forerunner AI. A lot to go over with the humans and the Forerunners comparison today from now as to who should correctly uphold the mantle. So we're looking at about 6, I'm going to say 6 for now, might end up being 7 if I think more shit to talk about. Videos for the humans, the UNSC, Master Chief John 117. He's a ginger kid. It only makes sense, you know, they run out he has no soul. He just fucks them all up. And, you know, it's not till Halo... I'm not going to start talking about it. This is not a lore video. I'm excited about that Forerunner video. And Benedict Bias. Google it. But, yeah. I'm going to encourage one thing. I ask that you guys share this on your Facebook wall at least, or tweet it. It would be very much appreciated. The more that's out there, the more feedback I get, and I enjoy feedback. I really do. So it'd be very much much appreciated if you throw it on your Facebook wall. We also have a Facebook you can go like. It'd be very appreciated if you could go like that as well, because maybe we'll get this channel eventually rolling, and then we could go towards like corporate sponsorship and whatnot like that, and we could call some people and be like, hey, we have like 100,000 people on Facebook that like us, so send us some of your shit, and we'll talk to them about it and see what they say. And then at that point we might give it away, or who knows what we could do. We could do a lot more with it. Just seeing, maybe eventually we could start actually giving stuff back to you guys for sitting here and watch me drone on for 20 to 30 minutes at a time. I know it's a chore. But yeah, please share us, guys. It's very much appreciated. Chris might be very well up and running soon, here in the next 2 weeks to a month. Might be. So you're gonna see a hell of a lot more content on the channel if it swings that way. However, I'm saying might, because it's like 80% definite, but it's still a might. I'm Scout with 3 guns down. Got 3 guns down. God, I've never fucked that up before. Now I do. Go like our Facebook page. Like I said, please just share a single video out on your YouTube or out on your Facebook, or tweet us something, anything. It's very much appreciated. I can't tell you how much appreciated it is. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. 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 Go it!